Hey, welcome in Over Under Podcast. We're back. It's Thursday night. You know what that means? We got Thursday night football in the NFL. Kind of a yawner, but we'll get into it. And then, of course, in Thursday night football college, we got a great rematch from a year ago. Lafayette, Georgia State, right?
Yep.
I always get them mixed up. Southern State.
Southern State, yeah.
But this was a hell of a game in overtime. I'm excited for this one tonight. There's some other stuff. I know the NBA features games tonight, and not really in on the NHL. I've been down in the NHL of late, so that will pick up at some point. And then college football starts. College basketball starts up soon. And dude, I love the Aloha Classic, like the whole Maui Classic or whatever they do every year. Yep. Bill Walton, that's my jam. So, anyways, we'll get into it real quick, and then I just want to again mention I just retweeted it again, but we do have an event. It's going to be Thursday, November 18th at Boston Billiard Club and Casino. We're going to get a room. I believe we have seating. I heard it's over halfway full. I haven't checked in actually, but just come hang out with us if you want to hang out with us. We're going to do a podcast somehow and ask you guys questions, and then we'll hang out, watch the game, and then we'll all go our merry way. So it's at Boston Billy Club and Casino. Go check it out there. Sign up now. All right, Dan. What do you? Before we get into the games, any thoughts on a betting angle for tonight?
Well, it depends on what. I mean, I don't really have a great. I have to be very honest. Before we start getting into the games, I don't love either of these games too much. I do have a play. I'm gonna give it out, but I don't really love anything in tonight's games. I do think that the Jets are coming off a big win. Upset win. First team of 7 points or greater to win outright the season. First team double-digit dog to win outright the season. Obviously, of course, going by that. So I mean, big win for the Jets. You know, you had your boy White there, or sorry, my boy White, I guess I should say, because Fred does not like the fact that I think that Mike White was better than Zach Wilson, which whatever we argue, or he's allowed to disagree. But I think Mike White has been better than Zach Wilson this year. At the same time, I think this Indy defense is a step up, not from Cincy, but just in terms of the spot. I think they'll probably be better than what Cincinnati was. In terms of actual playing defense, I expect Indy to be the better team. And I think that there's a good chance that this one kind of gets out of hand pretty early.
Yeah, and so I'm just ready. And then we talked about it this morning on Touch and Rich. The Colts off an emotional loss versus the Jets. What an emotional win! Now you look at the number and it's 10 for the team that had the emotional loss. It just and the other team's going on the road. I just think there's only one side tonight. We'll talk about it. And then the college game, just real quick, like the Raging Cajuns, remember they were ranked at the beginning of the year? I think they took one loss, and they've rolled since, dude. They had a shutout last week. Like, they're averaging 32 points a game. They've scored 40 points over their last 3 games. But Georgia State's now hot. They've won 3 games in a row. Both teams have beat Appalachian State big time this year. Georgia State puts up 24 points a game. I have a total. I thought on the total in this one tonight. So we'll get into that, and again some other NBA stuff. By the way, does ULL probably has a chance to win the Sun Belt, right?
Yeah, they do, because they're in the West Conference, the western part of the conference there. So I mean, they're easily going to be in first. I think the next team behind them is UL Monroe. It's pretty crazy. They're 2-3 in the conference. I mean, the Raging Cajuns have pretty much locked up the West seed, assuming they don't go 0-4. So I mean, It's pretty much locked up. I would be shocked if they lost more than 2 games down this final stretch here. I'd be shocked if they lost 2 games down the final stretch here. But yeah, I mean, the Western, because they're in the west side of that Sun Belt, they're locked up. Coastal Carolina needs App State to lose another game. Georgia State is also still in that fight as well. They're 3-1. So this is a big game for Georgia State in terms of seeding in that conference. They need to win to have a chance to be the representative out of the Sun Belt East. I don't think that's going to happen, but we've seen crazier shit happen.
Well, remember last week they had that crazy game-winning rushing touchdown, which was great. Georgia State has played North Carolina, Auburn, and Army, dude. But again, as I mentioned, they beat Appalachian State 45-16. And you could say the same thing about ULL. That was like one of their big wins, you know? The kid Levi Lewis, I mean, he's been there for years because like I remember who he is. Like I know who he is.
Yep.
So again, last year was 34-31. You know, I think Georgia State did take licks earlier on based off their schedule. I feel like it's too many points. I wonder why it's so high. Maybe I'm missing something here. I will tell you this. ULL is going to run all over them. I mean, they're going to run. So that's one thing, which has me looking at a total, Dan. And, you know, we just had Maction this week, dude, right? I mean, we can't take a fucking under ever again in that. I know one hit, but I don't know. Tonight, I see the total of 53.5. And, you know, I saw a betting trend. Again, Joey Trends coming at you again. But I believe I saw there was a betting trend tonight that the under is 11-1 in ULL's last 12 home games.
Yeah, I mean, at home they've been fantastic, and kind of read what they've done at home. They
had a shutout last week, dude.
Yeah, well, they allowed 24 points to Nichols to open the season. Outside of that game, they've allowed 14 to Ohio, 13 to App State, and a shutout of Texas State. You know, so I mean, they have been outside of that Nichols game and really that Texas game, but the first 2 games of the season they just didn't look right. Outside of those 2 games, they've been fucking awesome this year, and they really have been dominant at home, especially defensively. I agree with the under in the total based off that sentiment. I mean, Georgia State's not some highly explosive team, especially when they're on the road. Last week, 21 points at a Georgia Southern team who is good defensively. They did score 24 at Auburn, but only 17 at UNC. Louisiana Monroe, again, I think that they are a large step below, so it's kind of hard to measure when you put up 55 there. But I look at more of the Georgia Southern 21. I mean, very impressive performance at Auburn. If you saw the final few minutes of that game, they got screwed by the refs. They probably should have won that game, to be honest with you. And then the UNC game, of course, 17 points on the road. Not a great performance there. Look, Georgia State, in my opinion, is going to have trouble scoring tonight, but they have a dual threat quarterback in Darren Granger who is going to who is very similar to what Cornelius Brown IV gave them last year when they dominated Lafayette. Brown was awesome against that defense, and Granger's not the same, but he's a similar type player. And I do think that Georgia State will be productive and at least moving the football. I don't think they're going to be explosive, though. And I think that's kind of the way you need to look at this offense, is that they'll be methodical, they'll move the football, but they may not be explosive. So that definitely leans to the under. I see 13.5 also probably leans to Georgia State, especially at that number, not at 14, just right below it. I lean Georgia State and I lean the under. I do think that, that Lafayette gets the win here, but we've seen some games from them where they haven't been dominating. 28-20 on the road at Georgia Southern, 2018 at South Alabama, 28-27 on the road at Arkansas State. Now, the thing that those games all have in common is they're road games. They're different. And, that does change the complexion of the game, hence why I'm staying off of it. And Georgia State, this is going to be their second of a 3-game road trip. So they started in Georgia Southern, obviously not a far trip for them, but now Lafayette and then Coastal Carolina next week on a longer week. This is just tough. It's not a look ahead for Lafayette with Louisiana at Troy next week. This is just a game I'm probably going to stay off, look for something second half, maybe a side or total. But I think my initial reads in this one are Georgia State in the under, but I still don't feel confident either one of those enough to put some actual, to place a wager on that side.
All right, so you can ring the bell, give me the under, and I believe it's 53.5 right now.
53.5. There you go.
Oh,
there you go. There's the PP for Joe.
Last year the game was 30. It went over 60 points last year. It was a wild one. I think this one's just a little slower, Dan. And Dan, I don't want to take the under, by the way, because of what happened when the MAC dude gave me PTSD tonight. I mean, we can't take unders in the MAC anymore. I don't know. The
MAC midweek games have been points. It's been pretty crazy so far. But this is the Sun Belt. A little different, Joe. A little different.
Yeah, I do want to just say something quickly. I love MAC. I love it. It's fucking wild, right? It's not wild when you got money on it though, and so that's why it's called gambling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, the MAC really is a fucking wild conference.
Yeah, I mean, it is in my opinion the worst conference in.
Yeah, I think it is because you watch someone give up like a third in like 42 or whatever. What was it last night? Which I don't know what it was, but dude, there was like 20 points in like a 3-minute span. In a couple of the games.
I mean, let's not forget how bad Rocky Lombardi was for Michigan State last year, and he went 33-57, 532 yards, 3 touchdowns last night. Trayvon Rudolph for Northern Illinois, he was just obviously leading wide receiver, 14 receptions, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns. How do you not cover that kid? You know where the ball's going almost every time. Like, cover the kid, put double coverage, whatever you got to do. It is a wild conference, but tonight's different. Different type of team, different type of game, whatever. All right, what about the NFL, Joe? Let's move on.
I'll make it quick. I like the Colts tonight, and you know what, Dan? For entertainment purposes only, let's ring the bell. What's the number?
You and me both. Double PP. Colts -10. There you go. Yeah, I didn't. It was 10.5 earlier today. Didn't like it. Wanted to see if it get down to 10. It's at 10 now. I got some 9.5 earlier in the week and bounced back up to 10.5, and now it's at 10. I think that's a good number to play. I don't know how you feel about the total, Joe. I don't love anything in the total. I think that it's probably going to be a sharp side. I think the total opened 48-ish, 47.5 down to 45-ish. So it's probably going to be the sharper side. I just think the Colts are, they're a better team. I feel that, at home they have been significantly better than they have been on the road. Now, I'm a little concerned, obviously, coming off last week. That is a tough loss to take. It really is. You're up 14-0 in that game, and I was on the Colts. You've tailed us. I was on the Colts. I like that side. They should have won that game. They deserve to win that game. The way they started that game, they should have closed it. But in general, the Colts have been a better home team this year than I think they have been on the road, even though the record doesn't reflect it. Lose 28-16 to the Seahawks week 1. I don't put a ton of stock into the week 1 games, but if you want to talk about a bad home performance, that was it. 27-24 loss home versus the Rams. I think looking back and seeing how well LA is playing right now, I mean, that's a pretty respectable loss. 3-point loss in the game they're actually leading. It was back and forth. They beat the Texans 31-3, which is, doesn't say too much. And then the Titans, they lose 34-31 in the back and forth game. I mean, the Colts are 3-5, but realistically, you can look at this team very similarly to the Patriots and say, well, they're a break away from 5-3. Whether it's the Titans getting the field goal last week on the Wentz interception, or whether it's the Ravens coming all the way back, at home, coming back in that game. And the Colts are very close, or probably closer to a 5-3 team than a 3-5 team, in my opinion. I think they're probably slightly underrated, undervalued. And again, the Jets coming off what is I mean they beat the Titans and the Bengals now. 2 games at home. On the road, the Jets have lost 19-14 to the Panthers, 26-0 to the Broncos, and 54-13 to the Patriots. So, the Panthers obviously not going to blow you out, haven't really blown a lot of teams out, but the Broncos, who are a meh team at best, kicked the shit out of them, and we all know what the Patriots did, embarrassed them. I don't like the spot. Short week, coming off an emotional win, no practice time, backup quarterback. Not a great spot to me. I'm on the Colts, Joe, and obviously you are as well. So I mean, that's to me a pretty easy decision there.
All right, I like the over. Over 46.
It's 45.
45. Okay, I like the over. But I'm not gonna PP it. You know why? Because I saw this trend that was like the Colts have played 8 straight unders when they're a double-digit favorite. If the Jets were at home here, I'd lean the Jets. They've won 2 out of 3 as double-digit dogs, like outright. But on the road, dude, 2-10 in their last 12. It's just they haven't been good on Thursday Night Football either. 2-8, while the Colts 12-4 against the spread. This is easy. This game's and just maybe I'm crazy, but like this is Carson Wentz versus shit defense. They're gonna put up 30 points.
Yeah.
They've done it all. They've done it all year, right? I mean, just think about it. When they play a shitty team, Carson Wentz actually throws the ball. Well, I'm trying to think of where I saw the. Where is he? Wentz. Yeah, he's thrown. They've scored 30 points in 3 straight games against bad defenses. So I see that continuing. The Jets are one of the worst in the league.
Yeah, I think they could score 30 points and this game doesn't go over. I think that's the problem, Joe. I think they could win.
That's why I'm not PPing it. That's why I'm not PPing it.
Again, I think this is an under game.
All right.
Sharp's definitely on the under. I just think that the Jets offense is going to take probably a pretty decent sized step back coming off that game last week. If you go back and watch the game, a lot of fluky shit that usually doesn't happen for that team happened for that team. A lot of checkdowns. The Colts are going to make Mike White throw the ball, further than 8 yards, down the field. And obviously people are talking shit about Mac Jones that this year. He has the same average passes as Justin Herbert and Pat Mahomes. So I don't think that's no longer – I don't think that's a thing anymore. But, for Mike White, that is a legit concern. And, we've only seen, a game and a half of his. I think the Colts are going to pressure him to throw downfield. I think there'll be mistakes and turnovers. And I just think the Colts will probably do their best to try and take away, Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, and make him really make some throws and make some decisions there. And if they do that, I think they'll be successful. I expect them to win. I have the Colts. I made the number around 13.5 tonight, which is why I like to play a lot. And I do think the Colts win by 2 touchdowns. So I think that we'll see the 2 touchdowns, 34-10, something along those lines, which is
all right. We give out picks. So yeah, and can I give out a prop bet? Let's talk it out first. Jonathan Taylor. You see his prop bet for receiving yards tonight?
I have not.
It's 17.5. Don't you? What did I see it at? Minus 110. Jonathan Taylor. So I will tell you this: he had 3 catches for 52 yards last week. His catches have gone up the last. So he has 228 in 3 games, but he only has 265 on the season, dude. So like he has big chunk games and he kind of disappears,
Yep.
So week to week but I just feel like the last few games he's been more involved in the passing game. Wentz should be more successful tonight. I feel like that's kind of a good grab. Again, by the way, besides saying that Jalen Mills is going to have an interception, which had no prop bet, by the way, I've nailed 3 prop bets in a row. By the way,
you have you've been
Who else? And it's all been receiving for some reason. And I
You
know
had who was the
Corey
Davis.
Corey did, but I'm just saying. I look at, and I used to do this with James White when he was with the heyday with the Patriots, and I'd be like, that's too low, 17 and a half. I just don't want him to get hurt.
Oh, well. All right, well,
let's give it out. 17 and a half over Jonathan Taylor receiving yards tonight.
There you go, PP. So there you go. 3 plays for Joe, 1 play for me. Quickly, before we end this, we've only done 20 minutes, which is usually about 10 minutes less than what we usually do, surprisingly. Thoughts on the Celtics tonight? 6.5, number open 7 in Miami. So, I mean, we talked about it this morning, but I think there's larger issues than obviously have been talked about for a long time. Green teamers and Celtics fans just refuse to fucking acknowledge the fact that there's an issue. It's in the room. You've now changed GMs. You've now changed coaches. Nothing works, which should tell you very clearly it's in the room, in my opinion. And I think there's one guy that it points to. I think it points to Marcus Smart. I think that he is a problem. I don't think he is the only problem, but I think he is a problem. The Celtics on a road trip, when they spend more time together this season, Joe, when the Celtics have been on the road, what do you think their record is right now? I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up right now. But what do you think the record is?
I'm gonna say, well, they won last night.
Yep.
So 1 and 3, right? 1 and 4.
The Celtics are 3-2 on the road. They have not won a single home game this year. Actually, they beat Orlando last night. Have wins at Charlotte, at Houston. Houston was their best defensive performance. Only allowed 97. And of course, then you take a look at, Charlotte. In my opinion, that's their worst defensive performance. They allowed 129. I believe the Knicks game opening night went into overtime, that 138. So I kind of discount that a little bit. But the 129 against the Hornets, the 128 against the Bulls. Look, I think this team is going to get better. I really do. I think this team is going to get better. I think they're going to figure it out. I'm hopeful that they trade Marcus Smart. I just think that there's too many guys in that room who want to be the leader but aren't stepping up to be the leader, and that's when you have a lot of issues in that room. Miami has been really, really good so far, 6-1. I think the Celtics will push them tonight. I really do. I think the Celtics are probably going to play angry for the next couple of games. I think they're going to play angry about what's going on. Jaylen Brown did not seem happy with Marcus Smart after the game last night. I wonder if we see something from Jaylen Brown tonight. Jason Tatum obviously has been terrible, but I do think the Celtics will play better, and I lean them plus the 6.5 tonight. I'll give you the betting splits on this one too. I know that people usually ask me for the betting splits just to kind of give you an idea. Let's see if I can pull it up here for whatever reason. Betting splits. The Celtics are drawing just 32% of the bet and 32% of the money. In tonight's game, and the total, the over is getting 49% of the bet, 35% of the money. So a far cry after totals. I think it went 7-2 to the under last night. I wouldn't base your betting based upon the trends in the night before in the NBA. That's my opinion. But to be fair, I have sucked ass in the NBA this year. So what the hell do I know? But I do think the Celtics will give Miami a run for the money. If they don't, just another game where the Celtics can't compete against a good team, and it's concerning. But they have been better on the road when they've actually spent more time together. So I'm hopeful that the more time they spend together, things get better. I'm hopeful. I never know for sure, but I'm hopeful. I'm trying to be positive, Dan, here.
I've already taken a bet on the Heat tonight. Oh, sorry. The money's coming in tonight, Dan. on the Miami Heat tonight.
Are you happy now?
I'm sorry. It's just like, all right, got people out there. You know how many people the most random people, and I bet you there's people who are listening right now know this. Hey, what's the line tonight on the old Celtics game there? And it's like, hey man, it's 6.5. Dude, can I get $50 on the Heat tonight? Sure, man. It's $55 for 50. All right, cool. Thanks. And it's like, where did you come from? where did
I don't know, man. I don't know. That is definitely a Joe Murray thing. That is not.
No,
that
but
is not a
do
lip
you rather that, or do you rather that everyone's a capper nowadays?
I mean, I think that I'd rather have that than the capping aspect. If you're not good at something, don't do it. I mean, there's a million fucking things that I am terrible at that I don't do. So, I let those people do it. If you think you're good at something, then you should do it. So if you think the other thing is that we're hopefully educating some people. So I think that there's a lot of listeners who've gotten better, and they'll tell you even when we lose that they're getting better and taking the right side. And I think to me, that's like kind of the best part of it is like learning that these people are actually, not betting, oh, it's the Heat 6.5, like they're the better team. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, instead of just going that route, people are learning numbers, not teams, et cetera, things that we preach. And, it does usually go well. So I've been, I think I'd rather have people be cappers than ask me to place bets and whatever.
We've been doing this a while, man. And like, we've been doing this a while, and I can't tell you enough how much waiting for more information really is the key. And we do the show on Thursdays. It's what we do. We're basically giving our pick on a Thursday. It might drop on a Friday. You know what I mean? And like information sometimes, like Dan, I'm telling you, man, I was scrounging this week looking for because last week the underdogs rolled, and I don't know. There was just a few games, man, where I was way off. And I don't know if I didn't do my research or if it was just a week like that. It happens every once in a while, man. And I do appreciate the people that say to us, hey, man, we listen for the inside, because shit, you can make your own opinion. We're just kind of making ours too. I mean, we're giving you the stats. We're giving you the information.
Yep.
In the end, it's you who places the money on it. I'm not placing your money on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, all right. Well, that's it.
Okay. I think that's it. I think that's all we got. That's all I got. I do want to talk about the one thing we'll talk about. Sean's White Sox props are around 50 yards in a week. Certainly a fade. I listen, you know me. I am a under guy. I always have been an under guy when it comes to props. I think you're going to get more value on the unders than you do on the overs week in and week out. So, yeah, if you're looking at a Mike White fade in terms of prop yardage, I totally agree with that statement. 251, I mean, the one thing I am worried about is garbage time, especially with a guy like White, where the Colts are up, 24 or 20, and they're just throwing the throw. And that's something that concerns me in this game. But I do agree with that one, and maybe look at White touchdowns under. I know it's a little bit heavy, but I think I would go that way too. So, all right, Joe. Any other thoughts?
No, but stay tuned to our podcast. We might have some information about some college football games that are happening, and maybe some NFL stuff happening.
The NFL stuff is already broken. In case Joe and I were talking about this morning, but Kyler Murray is going to be out this week. Known that for a few days, but Kyler Murray is going to be out, and the line has moved significantly. The Niners open +3. Now the Niners are -2.5. It almost feels like a fucking repeat of last week's game with the Cowboys. So, be careful. If you got some Niners early in the week, good for you. You can always buy back if you want. But I suggest if you really do like the Niners, don't chase the number. Find a live number, do something. If you didn't get it at pick 'em or +1, don't chase the number at 2.5. I mean, unless you want to come back on like a 5 or a 6, maybe later in the week, I would be careful. Also, I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out too. So,
all right, dude. We'll wrap it up here. You got picks for tonight, and stay tuned for our podcast. And of course, check us out on Twitter. You can find out the event where you can hang out with us on Thursday, November 18th. And yes, I know everybody. I wrote 10-4. It's 11-4. I don't know what month it is.
Whoops.
All right, Dan, we'll do our podcast coming up right here, right now. That's it. Have a good night.
All right, fellas. Good luck.
Good night.